Hey, you guys. Okay, so I hope everybody got the message from the last live that I attempted to do. That has been deleted. This is the current live. I don't know what's going on, you guys, with the camera situation. Um, Everything was checked because this happened last live. So, I'm a little bit frustrated, but at the same time, like, this is new jumping here on YouTube and going live. So, I'll have my phone here. And if anybody wants to reach out to me or ask, how to join this live, I'm guessing some people are like me and not as familiar with YouTube, but I do want to get into, the topic, even if, you know, it's going to take a little while for people to find it. It sucks. I'm not going to lie. To a degree, it really sucks that that happens. But, what can I do? Okay. So you can always watch the playback, of course, whenever you want, if you can't be here live. But I want to talk about energy protection, you guys. I will say that this season that we're in right now, there's so many old karmic cycles that are coming back around that, things we've worked on. Like, let's say, for example, we've done like 90% of the work, and then it kind of whips back around and it says, hey, remember me? And it's like that 10% of work where it almost feels like a test. That's how I've been feeling lately. And so I'm like, I need to get on here and have a conversation about what it really looks like to protect your energy. Something that I've noticed, and just kind of being on the spiritual path, is, we do tend to protect our energy after the fact. I see that a lot with myself and everyone else. It's kind of like, once the energy has already hit us, or once the energy has already happened to us, and we're understanding, oh, there's something about that energy that feels low vibrational, or it feels like it's kind of like bringing me down, that's when we go in with our sage, with our prayer, with our meditation, whatever it is, cleansing, going on a cleanse. But I want to talk about energy protection post-event. So not just, pre-event, not just post-event, right? Energy protection is so important. Understanding how energy works has been a total game changer for me and for my clients. That's one of the things that I pride myself on as a therapist and an energy worker, is I don't just want my clients to come in for their session and figure out how to do the cleanup work from whatever the energetic mess was that happened to them over the last week, over the weekend, or whatever it is long term. I want them to be able to gain the tools to be able to understand how to keep their energy in a good place, keep their vibration high, clean, and protected, just throughout, right? Because we're never going to not need that. So energy protection 101, behind the scenes, like however you want to call it. One of the biggest things when it comes to working with energy protection and tips is really having that deep relationship with yourself. Now, if you're hearing this and you're going, oh, my relationship with myself sucks or isn't where I want it to be, that is completely okay. Don't take your focus off of it. Having a really deep attunement with what you need as a person really means understanding how to not give away your personal power. Does that make sense? This world that we live in, this society that we live in, is full of opportunities to give away your personal power. Let's just call it like it is. It almost like it can come in like a thief in the night. And specifically, if you have a karmic cycle around giving away your personal power, you may be giving away your personal power and not even realize it. So from the food you eat, the drinks you drink, the people you hang out with, and the big one is the work you do. So like your career. Heather says energies can be so strong. It's very helpful to have energetic boundaries. Amen. I feel like this isn't talked about enough, so I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you, my love. I'm so glad you found it. I'm like, my energy, my feminine energy is holding on for dear life because this technical issue is driving me bonkers. So I researched it, I looked at it, I made sure everything was clear. There's definitely a spiritual lesson in this for me. I guess, I'll be an example of what energy is about. Instead of letting, give my power away over to these technical difficulties, which I kind of did last time. If you watched the last video, you can definitely tell I was really affected. This time I'm like, okay, there's just literally something I need to learn. Honestly, it's probably about not giving an F. Because I really do care about starting this YouTube channel and I want things to go well. Energetically, I think Spirit is trying to really help me let go of that, if that makes sense. Not that I can't do well, but needing to control that. And so here we are, another technical glitch. I'll go back and make whatever edits with the other video later. But at this point, my priority, the thing I care about the most, is getting the information to the people that need it. Energy protection is kind of like an abstract idea, right? When it comes to, it's not really tangible. Yes, you can do things, you can have rituals to protect your energy, but the main thing is the relationship and the attunement you have with yourself. I want people to really hear this loud and clear. The attunement you have within yourself is one of your biggest assets when it comes to protecting your energy. Okay. It's one of the biggest assets when it comes to protecting and being the creator, the author of what's going on in your life. Okay. I'll share a little bit of a story to kind of, give illustration to all of this. Anyone who knows me on a personal level or, through my social media platforms knows that historically, I have not made exercise and food a huge priority. As a spiritual person, I prioritized a lot more of the feminine energy aspects, the themes around spirituality, practice, helping others. For whatever reason, that aspect of what I put in my body, like food, I would eat food that wasn't great for me, a lot of weird sauces and fast food and just things that weren't as intentional, and drinks as well. And I felt like, oh, okay, well, I'm walking on this spiritual path and I feel pretty good. It doesn't appear that there's an issue. And that's the thing about energy protection. We always feel like there has to be an issue in order for us to really do what's in our greatest and highest good for our energy. So what's crazy is as I've been showing up more on social media and stepping more into my calling and, reaching more people, it was like my guides were like, okay, you've got to step it up. So I reached out to a friend that I literally haven't spoken to. I went to high school with her. It's been 15 years since I've had contact with her. And I asked her to do a live with me. And literally, you guys, I was just going with the flow. I didn't even really know where it would go. But we ended up talking about, because she's into food and fitness. And I was like, okay, cool. That's definitely on track with the brand. To be honest, that's the way I was thinking about it, mind, body, spirit. But what it ended up being was this huge game changer for me. It opened up my eyes and I joined her 21-day challenge. It was a food challenge. A lot of it was an alkaline diet, but there was a lot of things that I wasn't allowed to eat as far as like, processed foods and extra sauces and things like that. And at first I will admit I was a little bit nervous because I was like, am I going to be able to do this? No wine, no Gatorade, not even Sprite Zero. not even, and the biggest thing was coffee. So you guys see me on my Instagram. I joke all the time about how much I love coffee. So I made a deal with her. She allowed me to have 1 cup of coffee with no sugar or Splenda. I used agave. And so 21 days. And I didn't really call it a diet. I called it was a challenge. It was literally, it was a 21-day challenge. Can I just tell you guys, it literally changed my life and my body. Not only am I a little slimmer and my stomach's a little flatter, but the way my body feels, I have less fatigue. I have more energy. It is like I actually communicate with my body every single day, sometimes like throughout the day, so, several times within the day. That right there has taken my energy protection up through the roof. And it's something I never even would have thought would have been able to make such a substantial difference. It cleansed me, right? So like, when us spiritual people go on fast, we kind of eliminate things and there's like a reboot, a restart, but it also raises your vibration because a lot of times we put things into our body that we don't even really need and it's not really purposeful, or it's literally taking from our energy or energy we could be using to go higher, and it just doesn't have a place, but we're doing it because we're on autopilot. So the 21-day challenge, wow, I am never going back to the way that I ate before. And even when I think about the energy I was in, I look back at literally a month ago, right? Quick. I think, who was that? My boyfriend did it with me. And I was like, how in the world were we living like that? You know? And it's not so much of a judgment like, ew, you guys were trash or whatever, but it's more of like, I don't resonate with that energy anymore. And so when I walk into a room, a building, an establishment, whatever, and um, my body can feel the energy. It's almost like I'm this antenna. I know what's going on and I know exactly what I'm not going to put in my body, right? The same way, with food and whatnot. It's so much easier to understand what's going on in the energy, which is a form of energy protection, right? But it's on the front end, not on the back end. Okay, Tana Maya, did your new eating plan change emotions and how you were feeling? I mean, yes, 100%. It's so funny how sometimes when you just get on a path to level up in any way, in whatever way, excuse me, things that you've been wanting to work on, they work themselves out. Right? So things that I had kind of been trying to figure out or control from a masculine energy place, all of a sudden it's no longer an issue, right? No longer an issue. That's crazy. I've been seeing so many signs about taking care of my vessel. Girl, yes. And what's so crazy about it too is this is kind of funny, but like I used to think about Oprah a lot and think about like she's had all these struggles with weight, but yet, she is one of the spiritually, profound leaders of our generation, of our time. And she's been very open across her career about how she struggled. And I have wondered, there's so many things that contribute to why our temple isn't at its highest vibration. It's not just, oh, we're lazy and we like Raising Cane's and Chick-fil-A. Like, it's not always just that, although for some people they may have a spirit of laziness hanging around them, right? But for a lot of us, it is like could be health related. For me, I thought maybe I had like a thyroid issue, and I'm actually still in the process of being tested for a thyroid issue because it just felt like it was like overnight. But the more I did the 21-day challenge and got right with what I could control, right? I could control what I put in my body. We stopped eating soy, like super kind of like random. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the alkaline diet. I'm wasn't before I took the challenge, but like stopped eating soy, no alcohol, no, even salad dressing, like commercial salad dressings were off the table. So we had to place an incredible amount of intention and present moment awareness to, make a salad dressing that was included in the ingredients that were on the 21-day challenge list. So for my boyfriend, it was really exciting because he's always loved to cook, but I think we had kind of got lost in the sauce of food, and we were just kind of honestly self-medicating with Raising Cane's. I mean, I don't know what it is in my town. Like, that chicken is so freaking lit. And also like Chinese food. I have a soft spot for Asian cuisine. So I love sushi. I love Chinese food. My body isn't a huge fan of like the rices and the starches. And so I am also gluten intolerant. I guess I should have mentioned that. But it's all these things. Let me check in and see what Jenna Lee is saying. Yeah, I feel in some way when eating clean mindfully. I'm way more in tune to my body and I respect it and I treat it better in all planes. Yeah, the mind, body, spirit connection, it is so real. Okay, so I don't know. I went off on that tangent. I think because I just got out of the 21-day challenge. It's made such a huge impact. So I'll probably be harping on it a lot on my Instagram and whatnot. But I want to talk about other ways of understanding your energy. I got a question on my stories earlier this week. It was like yesterday, I think it was. A girl was asking like energy when it comes to people. Okay. Serious. It's a touchy subject because just like the energy of food, just like the energy of money, people have energy too. We're all an extension of source. We're all an extension of life force energy. We all are on a path. The thing that I think becomes a little tricky is we're all at different places on the path, right? So then how are you able to pick up where you're on the path because you're so in tune with that, like we got done talking about, but also understanding that somebody else's energy is more of where they are on their path, and it may not resonate with where you are on your path. Okay, so this isn't about bashing other people and where they're at. Not at all. But it's so important. I think Heather said it early in the comments, energetic boundaries. And I think with people, it's just more difficult. We're social creatures. We love to connect. We love companionship. Sometimes from the outside, there doesn't appear to be anything bad about that person. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not talking shit behind your back. They're not necessarily taking anything from you. But I want you to really hear this a little deeper, because if you're in the presence of someone and their energy is, going to drain you or throw you off on your path, or it's an energy that spirit has specifically instructed you to work on within yourself or draw a boundary with, you got to draw a boundary with that energy. Think in terms of energy. It's not about judging the energy or the person. Okay, we're all people. We're all at different places on the path. But the energy is something you have to be right with to do what's best for you on your path. I think it really becomes harder when you've had relationships with people that are established, and then you realize that the energy is not something you're supposed to be drawing nearer to. Does that make sense? I post a lot on my Instagram about releasing people, releasing things in people, just like on the 21-day challenge, releasing commercial salad dressing, releasing Raising Cane's. I have nothing against Raising Cane's. I think what they provide for the world is an amazing service, an amazing product. But right now, where my spirit team has me, I had to release Raising Cane's. Does that make sense? It sounds so crazy in a way, but it does all tie in. It's the same thing with people. We don't put any kind of negative judgment out there on them. At the end of the day, you're incarnated into this lifetime right now, right? You're still here. You're still incarnated. You got to use that time to put your energy first on the path. Everything else can flow out beautifully from there. But I think sometimes where we get stuck when it comes to energy is like we want to encompass everybody else and everything else. And sometimes that kind of gets in the way of us putting our energy first. It's like ass backwards, but we all do it. I've done it. Let me check in on the comments. From Francis, this is amazing. I have been struggling with other people's energies for a week and wondering what to do about it. Oh my God, yes. So, what I would say kind of goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, be so in tune. And what you may need to do is go give yourself a boundary, go take some time alone by yourself and stay there. And you may need to do that several times depending on what your schedule and availability looks like. But stay there in that place to where you feel like you recognize yourself again. You're like, oh, I'm coming back to my energy. And you start to connect with source, God, energy again. And the both of you are communing and like boom, boom, boom. It's going to become so much more clear about what God is telling you to do with your energy on your path. Does that make sense? You always have to start there. And then you can start taking inspired action on how to deal with these folks, whoever they are, whatever role they play. I think sometimes we want to cut corners or don't do the work of the connection between you and source, especially if we're out of the loop with source for a certain amount of time or it's so distant. We're like playing catch up. I know because I've been there. It's almost like the well is dry, people. Like I'm out here grinding, I'm doing my thing, but where is source? Where is the connection? Because you can't protect your energy without that, right? So I hope that answers that question. Let me know in the comments if you want me to speak more on that. Noel says, yes, I need help with this. I can walk into a grocery store happy and feel sad or drained by the time I'm in my car just from feeling everyone else's energies. Whew, yes. How do I protect my energy? Absolutely. Like I experienced this same thing too, to where it's like, you don't even know what happened. Sometimes you feel like, geez. So one thing you can start to do, it's kind of the same advice, but going back to understanding yourself, because that's where everything else flows out. So, spirit, you and your relationship with source energy, there may be a message coming through about what's happening in your energy when you get around a lot of people. For example, some of us have, consider ourselves to be empaths. And the thing about, labeling ourselves as an empath or considering ourselves as an empath is, are you using that gift correctly? Are you understanding how energy flows through that? When I first became a therapist around 10 years ago, I think most therapists consider themselves an empath, and we want to use that for the greater good and help everybody. But if you're not seasoned in what it means to exercise the gift of being an empath, you're going to be drained. You're going to be a bleeding heart. You could also throw people off of their path of accountability. Let's say that, right? Because we're always rescuing people with our energy, so to speak, or we lack energetic boundaries. This used to happen to me when I would go in a Walmart. I don't go to Walmart anymore because to me, it drained, and I thought I could just fight that off. And Spirit was like, you don't have to go to Walmart. I was like, oh, I don't? Okay, cool. But I go to Target, and it's like I'm having a hot flash when I'm down in the aisles. And I used to ask my boyfriend, like, he's like, why are you sweating? Literally, you're not even walking fast. I'm like, I think it's an energetic thing. And he's like, well, why are you giving your power away and just handing your energy out like candy at Target? And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to, right? So I had to go back to source and go back within myself and really check the boundaries, because what it made me feel like was that I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to go anywhere. And I was like, if every time I go somewhere, I'm going to get these hot flashes and just feel so drained. It was like I would get home from Target buying one thing. I think I went in to buy like a journal and some eyelashes. And then I got home and I was like, I'm ready for bed. It's like 8:00. I'm like, I don't have anything left, So as an empath, as a therapist, as somebody in this line of work, as somebody who doesn't know you're an empath, there's a lot of people who just don't know they're an empath. you have to keep those energetic boundaries tight. Tight and right. No, oh my gosh, thank you. You couldn't describe more perfectly. You're a freaking queen. Thank you so much. Yes, it's real, right? Like I mean, not even knowing what you're giving away, and it's the work of it. Null, you're probably somebody who um maybe maybe you do have a high spiritual calling on your life. And most people who do, there's a certain set of challenges, and I'll say energetic challenges, that come with being able to use your gift. In the beginning, it's like we're like baby energy workers, right? So we're like kind of figuring things out as we go. I know I was when I first started out. And then it's like the pilot light comes on and you're like, oh, I'm the co-creator with the universe. I'm the author of how this goes. So we don't want to feel like energy's being done to us. We want to feel like we're in co-creation with the energy around us. So there's a lot, I think, that goes into that. And, we could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours about that. But Spirit's telling me to go back to the thing with people, because I think releasing people and what that really means, they're saying talk more about that. It's not always about cutting people the hell off. Okay. I know some of us, especially those who are very cerebrally oriented, or you're an air sign, you might think of like all or nothing. It's really not about cut off. It can be. Spirit may give you instruction, say, cut that person the hell off. Okay, that's the boundary. But energetically releasing what's in the reciprocal energy with you and that person is more of the point Spirit's trying to make. Does that make sense? So you have to be empowered. I've been talking a lot about solar plexus energy. So if you guys are familiar with the 7 main chakras, your solar plexus is in your stomach region, and it is your power center. So if you go to a chakra balancer or a practitioner or a Reiki practitioner, they do a scan, and they they hover over your chakra. If it is dull, if it's a dull, dingy kind of yellow, a burnt yellow, then it's not at its full capacity. When it's at its full vibrational capacity, it would be shining this vibrant yellow color. So that's personal power. I firmly believe that energy center has a lot to do with whether or not our energy is going to feel protected or not. There are so many things that can throw us off the path of feeling like we're not embodied in our personal power. Even family, let's go there, right? Family members are people who we have strong soul ties to. And even like our parents, for examples, we chose our parents, we incarnated through our parents for a specific reason and specific lessons for the parent and lessons for us through one another. And I think a lot of us as human beings, some of us never get to that point where we actually figure out what that journey is all about, that karmic tie is all about. Some of us just find ourselves in resistance with it for our entire lives. So we don't necessarily reach that point of personal power with that relationship. But if you think about it, it's not a whole lot different than relationships you have with like a karmic soulmate partner, like boyfriend, girlfriend, lover, whatever, or a friend, or a boss. These people are tied with us, maybe sometimes even having had a history with this person in another lifetime, where in this lifetime, we're able to close out that karmic cycle for good if we're conscious with the energy, of course, because everything comes back to that, to be woke, to be, to have that sense of consciousness. I'm a huge believer in doing things to raise your consciousness, and it can be fun. It doesn't have to be, drab and boring. I don't believe in not having fun, honestly. Yes, doing shadow work isn't like always fun, and sometimes it's dark night of the soul feeling, but at the same time, it's like raising your consciousness doesn't always have to feel like work. So I think it's really, really, really important to be in tune with your energy when it comes to the relationships you have. What's going on behind the scenes in the purpose? What purpose is the energy between you and the other person serving? As an Aquarius, and we have this reputation of cutting folks off and being cold, like, okay, you're not serving a purpose, time to go. I'm not even going to say whether or not that's true. I think it may have been true at when I was a lot less evolved and I would just kind of break free of people or situations. But I think at this point, it's so much more intentional. And I want you guys to get this for yourselves as well. It's intentional with what energy we need to let go or how we need to let go of energy between us and someone else. It doesn't mean that we can't have them as a part of in our physical world. And for those of you who cannot have these people as a part of your physical world, like, really interacting with them face to face, that doesn't mean that you're cut off with them energetically permanently or that you don't love them. And I think that's really, really important to emphasize is it doesn't mean that you don't love them. Energy is fluid. We really need to remember that. And I know as humans, it's hard sometimes because it's easier for us to resonate with how energy is present when we can see it manifested in like physical 3D form. You got to remember you can love somebody who's not even on this physical plane, whose soul has transcended and gone beyond this. You can have a full-blown relationship with them. You can have a full-blown energy exchange, and you can send energy to them, even if you're not always 100% sure of what you're getting back, So this whole live is about energy. Please, please, please ask any questions. I'm going to take a sip because that was a lot. Please hit up the comments. It gives me, things to give you guys feedback on. And then I'll, go on my rant for the next 15 minutes because this live is going to be about an hour. Whew, the channeling today. Let me check my phone and see if. Okay. I didn't know if anybody was confused about how to get here. Okay. Yeah. Got somebody in here. Go to my channel. All right. Does anybody at all have any questions about, if you have a specific situation about energy in your own life? What do you guys do to protect your energy? What's happening in the energy? What have you noticed? Also, location. I think that's another thing was location, where you live, where you work, energy residing in the walls of a building. I always think it's kind of fun to look at. It's like when you're looking for a new house or a new apartment, say it's already been lived in. I guess even if you're building it new, the energy that goes into it, you can get to the point where you're so in tune and sensitive to the energy that flows through your body and the energy that resides in a place that I tell it to my boyfriend, even restaurants, that's a really fun one to look at. But me and my boyfriend will go out to eat. And as soon as we walk in, I love to look at him and get that energy match connection of yeah, should we stay or should we go? Because the energy here is not it. It's not. Tay and Amaya, can you touch on what shadow work is? Yeah. So shadow work is, so we all have a light side, right? Our light and our shadow. Light working is a lot of the stuff around healing and raising the vibration. Shadow work is a lot more in tune with understanding, I'm thinking of tarot, devil energy in the tarot, or stronghold energy. That's another way to put it. In energy, we all have strongholds, so we all have shadow. Shadow work is oftentimes associated with our karmic lessons in this life. So it's really important to get in there and understand what your shadow work is so you can start closing out the karma. Boom, boom, closing out the karma. Whatever the stronghold is. For example, you may get this like these repeating cycles in your life where, maybe the first few times you're like, I don't know what this is. But then like maybe after like the 10th time that the cycle has repeated, you're like, oh, this is a part of my shadow work. Does that make sense? This is a stronghold in my life. This is a huge karmic lesson for me to get loose from, to break free, to heal it. Really is what it is to heal it. It's not something you can jump over. It's not something that you can like cut corners or go around, because until the shadow work is acknowledged and done, it's just going to keep repeating. You can call it, you can pretty much call it whatever. Shadow work is something I use, a term that I use. Devil energy, which in the tarot, the devil card is associated with our shadow work. Like for some people, it's addiction, right? They give their power away to a thing, an external thing outside of their inner being. And that's the thing that they use to cope or help them get through to the energy of what's being called upon on a deeper level, like emotions or like their trauma or whatever. So sometimes our trauma, we can look to that to understand about our shadow work. No, is your boyfriend into spiritual stuff? Yeah. And energy work? Yes. So my ex-husband wasn't. And it was really confusing for me at first because, sorry, I know I just turned a big corner, but I'm an Aquarius. I do that. I can bounce back and forth. Hopefully that answers your question, Tay and Amaya. Yes. My ex-husband, so we were together for 7 years, and there was a lot of strength in the tangible. That makes sense. House, car, checklist, dogs, a lot of beauty in the 3D tangible. But when it came to my spirituality, there was a huge disconnection in terms of feeling like I could grow in my spirituality in that energy. So one of the biggest reasons too that I decided to go for the divorce, to initiate the divorce, was to do with my spirit and my spirit guides telling me that, not that this situation is to be judged poorly, right? It was never about judgment. It was more about going high for my greatest and highest good. So definitely not an easy decision. And then that's a really good example of like what we're talking about here today, releasing. And in a way, me releasing him and that marriage is going to help him on his path as well, if that makes sense. Because staying stagnant or staying stuck, to me, isn't healing. I think it's contentment for a lot of people, but I'm an Aquarius. I'm a humanitarian. I have a huge connection to greater healing. So it's not who I am. But for the time that it was present, it served its purpose. Now, the guy that I'm dating now, it's been a little bit over a year. So it's still pretty new, but it's so different in terms of the spiritual connection, because I'm able to be 100% myself. And not only that, but be challenged spiritually, which that has been a huge game changer too, because I've released other people, friends, coworkers, people in my life, where not only were they not challenging me spiritually, but in a way they were kind of, it was a weight of energy that was not helping me grow. It was like the opposite. It was like either keeping me stuck or regressing me. And so it was a huge energy release. But what I let go of, spirit gave me 10 freaking fold. And I will tell you too, no, like right now, I didn't know at the time that I was releasing it, like what would come back tenfold in its place. I didn't know. I was scared. Straight up, I was scared. And again, back to the energy. living proof over here, back to the energy. When you do not give your power away to fear, when you do not give your power away to a house, a car, dogs. We were actually in the process of buying an even bigger house, like almost a $500,000 home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was really excited about that home. So, but to trust myself, to trust the energy, even, those people who were like, tell me what's wrong in the situation, and that being hard to explain, right? But I do believe that spirit came back tenfold, and I don't think I've even seen the full manifestation of that yet. It's like the abundance is happening in increments as I grow and as I stay on course and as I protect my energy. Again, these little tests that come around. Does anybody have any questions or want to ask me anything that you feel like might be able to help you on your journey? That brought out some heat, opening up. So we've got like a few more minutes before I let you lovely human beings go. Very in tune with each other's energy. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've never experienced a relationship like this. So I'm 32 years old. So, I'm not like super young. I'm also, not super old. But at 32 years old, this is probably the first time in my life where I'm experiencing a relationship where there's like a mutual spiritual energy growing. And it's like sometimes I'll be I'll be like a little bit ahead in my spiritual energy. And then sometimes he'll be a little bit ahead in his spiritual energy. And it just kind of is like this, honestly. And yes, we do meet up at these times, and those are great. That's like when we go out to dinner. I celebrate, yeah. But it's always kind of like the path continues to evolve. And okay, Jenny is saying, how do you interact with not let low vibe energy affect you when they are people who you cannot release from your life and will most likely be there in the future by proxy, such as in-laws? Okay. In-laws. That suegra. I'm learning Spanish, so my brain is integrating Spanish with things little by little. But yeah, so I think we really got to check the energy on when you say you can't release them. Okay, because I think I was saying earlier in the live, I don't know if you caught it, but energy is fluid. So you have energy where they are in close proximity to you, like they're physically in your life, but you also have energy where it's not tangible, it's energetic. So what do you need to release when it comes to these in-laws and the energy that flows between you? You can take your energetic power back in multiple ways. Even if you have to see that person, you can take your energetic power back when you don't see that person. Okay. I have a relationship with an intense karmic partner. Still not sure if they're a twin flame or what, but I still had to do, and I haven't seen them in, God, it's been a long time, over a year. Having to take your power back and not see them doesn't necessarily make it easier from taking your power back and seeing them. You know what I mean? It really just depends what's going on in the energy, but mainly what's going on in your energy and where you're at. I get this a lot from my clients. They're like, well, how can I take my power back if I live with them? Well, that's the work. There's probably something in there about shadow work that spirit's trying to guide you towards. So what I would say as your first piece of inspired action, if you feel inspired to do so, is I would go back to the drawing board within yourself and source energy and really ask spirit, what is it with this energy between me and my in-laws, mainly the energy between me that involves my in-laws, and what is the shadow work that you're trying to point me towards? What do I need to do? Because you're feeling disempowered, and let's change that, right? Yeah, let's change the energy on that. Do not tell yourself that you don't have any control over your energy or your power. because you know what I mean? Like maybe you don't feel like you have as much control of whether you see them or how often or whatever. And I would have to know more about your personal situation or do a session with you to kind of really break down like what is really going on. But um, I would go to Source Energy and spend some very, very quality time. It may be that there's a disconnection with your relationship with Source. And so you're just not getting the downloads coming down through the pike, if that makes sense. Because they're probably really trying to show you something. Whenever I feel stuck, I know Spirit's trying to show me something. Like, for example, I was going to do a launch this Monday. I'm in a really amazing coaching program, and I was going to do a launch for a mastermind that I have coming up. And I was like rushing and learning so many things, staying up late. My masculine energy basically swallowed me whole, and I was treating my boyfriend like shit. And I woke up this morning and I turned to him and I said, I'm not launching the mastermind on Monday. He was like, what? You're not launching it? No, I'm not. I'm going to give myself another week. I don't want to, because I do have a timeline that I'm running on and a reason for that. But at the same time, my feminine energy is more important to me to preserve. So if I'm going to lose something because the launch is delayed, it's delayed. Like, I'm not giving my power to that. I'm not going to surrender my power over and be impatient or be a slave to this time. Time is like really an illusion. I know I hate to sound like one of those people, but energy is fluid. I love you guys so much. This was so much fun. I need to go drink some chai and water. So hopefully you guys will do the same. I'll see you on Instagram. And be on the lookout, because in a week's time, I am going to be launching some really, really, really cool stuff. Spirit is giving me so much juiciness. I just can't wait to work with everybody. I love you guys. I'll see this video will be up so you can watch the replay. All right. Love you. Bye. Okay.